Now we're talking steaks, but very different steaks, I have to be honest. I call them steaks with pizzazz because they've got some real, oomph. They really have. One is Crying Tiger, which of course is an Asian dish, will blow your head off. No, it won't, because the steak itself, normally when they do Crying Tiger, they slice it. So therefore you get it right through. But this one, you've got a steak so that the sauce is around it. Sort of a salsa more than a sauce. And the other one is sort of a Kilpatrick. Now I know this is weird when you talk about carpetbag Kilpatrick and you think like that. Kilpatrick is an oyster preparation. When I first started in kitchens in New Zealand about 3,000 years ago, I always remember Kilpatrick were very popular. And we always knew when the Kilpatrick were ready because the bacon was burnt. So when the bacon was burnt, the Kilpatrick was ready. This is nothing like that. Actually, Anders Ausbach, renowned bon vivant, the late departed Anders Ausbach, he always said that it was supposed to be called Kirkpatrick, named after a mayor of San Francisco, I think in 1906 or something like that. But I always used to wonder because, when you talk about gourmets, Anders really was the epitome of a gourmet, and I couldn't imagine them ever really partaking of Kilpatrick. But anyway, in our house, they were Kilpatrick, and they're going to stay Kilpatrick. I'm sorry. Forget the Kirkpatrick, they're Kilpatrick. Anyway, Iain, you're sort of digressing here a bit, aren't you? First of all, I'm making the Crying Tiger sort of dressing, come salsa, come whatever. I've got 3 big cloves of garlic and 4 nice small chilies. So I've chopped that all very finely. Did I say there was a shallot there too? I don't think I did. So that goes into a bowl along with some tomatoes. Now the tomatoes are little cherry tomatoes which I've cut in quarters and then I've cut in half. To that we then add a good spoon of sambal, remembering this is supposed to be hot. And to that some veggie oil, bit of salt, bit of lime juice. About a half a lime I reckon to be enough because these are nice juicy ones. But you can always add more if you like. No, that's plenty. Plenty. And some fish sauce. That is about it, guys, for that. Let's have a little taste. Ah, yes! That has got a kick. Beautiful. Now, a couple of nice steaks. I've got a couple of porterhouses here. Decent size, about 300 grams. Just give them a bit of a whack, not too much. We will whack them on the grill in a second. But first of all, I'll just grab my pastry brush. And the Crying Tiger one, I just want to brush it. So we're going to put the salsa on it as well. But what will happen is we'll just use it to cook like that. And we'll also add a little bit of olive oil and some seasoning to the other one, which is going to be the Kilpatrick. The killer. God, they were awful, the ones we used to do when I first started. All right, we're going to cook that to the desired degree. Please don't cook it too much. I reckon medium's about the end. I don't think you can do it anything more than medium, but I'm a rare man myself, I have to be honest. And don't muck around with it too much. You can brush some more of the salsa, I suppose, the Crying Tiger salsa, so you can brush that as you're cooking them. But don't stand over it because you'll choke because it is very spicy. Well, if it's called Crying Tiger, of course it has to be salty, spicy, salty, spicy. Okay, you are going to get a little bit of cross contamination with my carpet bag purely and simply because I'm using the same tongs and things. But you wouldn't do them together, would you? Now the other thing, as we know, is very important that you rest your steaks. This allows the juices to settle and makes them more tender. And what we will then do is grab some oysters. I've got some lovely Pacific oysters here. You remember the old carpet bags? They used to get the end piece of the fillet and they'd cut a hole in it and they'd put the oysters in. And then they'd cook the... Am I allowed to say shit on television? Yeah, I suppose so. They'd cook the shit out of it, wouldn't they? And so by the time you got it, the oysters would be about this big, because they'd curdled up and the meat was overcooked to hell. So we're just going to put it on there because we don't need to do that. And then we're going to cook our Kilpatrick. We'll just call it Killer. That'd get us out of it, wouldn't it? So I've got some onion and some bacon there, just some finely sliced red onion. So a little bit of olive oil. Now what I'm also going to do is a simple green veggie to go with this. So we saute that, the bacon and the onion. We do not burn it, of course, and we've got some hot sauce, and we've got some Worcester to go on there. We've also got some broccolini, which I'm rather keen on. I've got a pot of boiling water over here, which I'll just throw the broccolini in there. So just a little bit of red onion, some very finely diced streaky bacon. Let's cook it to get started. I think this is fun. But I'm biased, aren't I? Don't know whether Anders would have approved, but he was a good man, Anders. You'd remember him actually, most probably, because he was the maitre d' first of all at Two Faces for many years, worked for Len Evans for many years too, and then he was the maitre d' at Burrell Waters, which I really do think it was the greatest restaurant that Australia has ever had. And then he had various establishments of his own in Sydney. Into that, Worcester sauce, good quality, Lee & Perrins or Holbrook's. Very important that it's good quality. So a decent amount of that. A few splashes of good hot sauce, Tabasco, or what am I using, Kataya Fire from New Zealand. And then we just turn that off. All right, guys, let's start thinking about serving this blessed stuff. First of all, my crying tiger. You can slice it if you like. It's up to you. I'm quite happy at being whole, to be honest. My Kilpatrick. Now, I haven't heated up the oysters because the heat of that mix will give them a bit of a kick, which is fine. And this is our crying tiger. I love the name. And a little bit of chopped parsley on that one. And to go with that, we need a nice big bold one. And what I've got here is a wonderful Rochefort Pinot, which comes from the Yarra Valley. Pretty bloody special, I can tell you that. So that will go beautifully with this. Big and bold, and because we're talking steaks here that have a lot of pizzazz to them. So we need something with a bit of guts to it, but we don't want anything that will blow your head off. So I've gone with a Pinot, which is, I suppose you'd say about a Pinot, it has got guts, but it's fresh as well, isn't it? Is that right? I think so.